Okay, so now we're going to see the third topic of CSS, okay, which is types of style sheet. Okay, so I think at this point you already know how to insert style sheet. Okay, so first is the external style sheet or linked CSS. Okay, this is usually can be applied throughout to the whole HTML pages on the entire sites. Okay. The second one is the internal CSS, or also known as embedded CSS. This is usually for single page of HTML. And the last one we have inline CSS, which is applicable to only one single tag in one HTML page. Okay. So we're going to see them one by one. How do we insert this? So if you are using inline style sheet, if you're only using inline CSS, you're going to apply the content to single HTML element, okay? But this is not so good, okay? And then if you use internal or embedded style, this is for the whole body of the HTML document. And then lastly, if you use external CSS, this can be linked and applied to many HTML documents, okay? So this is like the standard web development, okay, practice, okay? So this is the best way. Okay, it says here the lower level style sheet can override the higher level style sheet. Okay, so therefore you can have inline overriding the internal and also the external. Okay, so if you use external CSS, this can be written in any text editor. Okay, so the file is going to be in a separate file, and you save the file as .css. So it will look something like this. Okay, so I can have here, this is the external file. Okay, so you name it as my style followed by this extension .css, and then you give it the styling that you want. Like for example here, the body tag has this background color followed by the heading one and also the paragraph. Okay, and then you save this page as any name that you like with extension .css, and then you call this file from the HTML page, okay, using this tag called link rel style sheet type text CSS, and then the name of the file. Okay, the name of the file just now is mystyle.css. That's why you have href is equal to mystyle.css. Okay, so you put this link tag inside the HTML tag. Okay, so you will have two different files altogether, .css, the presentation of the styling, okay, and then you have the content of the HTML, which is you're going to save them in .html. Okay, so therefore you will have what they call as something like this. Okay, the first HTML file, okay, that you can name it anything that you want, and then you remember to put the link tag, and then you have the mystyle.css, which is the where you put all the presentation, the styling. And then remember to put the href, mystyle.css, the name of this file, inside the HTML file that you want to style using this mystyle.css. Okay. Alright, so there you have it. Okay. So if you want to see example, you can go into activity 3a.html. Okay. Alright, so we go to internal or embedded CSS. So for internal CSS, you put the styling in the head tag section. Okay, so you use the style tag, okay, to differentiate between all the other meta information in the head tag. Okay, so the style tag is HTML, not CSS actually. So how does it look like? It looks something like this. In the head tag, you open the style tag, and then you can close the style tag. And then you have a body tag that you want to style, the heading that you want to style, or any other that you want. Okay, so all of those HTML tag will follow the inline style tag. Okay, and then lastly you have the inline CSS, which is directly typed into the HTML tag element. For example, like this, you have the body, and then you have the heading one, and then you put the style. Okay, so you must always remember the style equivalent to some declaration. Okay, so this is the property followed by the value and so forth. Okay, alright, so however this is not a standard practice because it does not offer any time and bandwidth saving benefits. Okay, so people the in practice we don't do this. Okay, usually we put it in separate. Okay, so we use external CSS. Okay. Alright, why we don't use this? Because it's rather hard to change or edit the single CSS rule. Let's say you have like 100 HTML pages and all of them use inline CSS. So therefore, if you want to change the color or the theme of your website, maybe next year you want to change it into blue theme instead of this year you have the red theme. So you have to go into every single HTML file and then change the style color is equal to some other color that you want, and you have to do this 100 times. Okay, so therefore that's why this is not a standard practice in web development. Okay, all right, so this is inline CSS. Okay, now you have inline versus internal, and then also you have external. Okay, so let's go see activity 3a.html on Visual Studio Code. Okay, so I have it here 3a. Okay, so this is my style.css. So currently this file is directly inside the same folder as this file, activity 3a. Okay. So this is my style CSS. It looks something like this. You have the style for body, for the heading 1, and also for the paragraph. And then you call it from activity 3a.html. So how do you call it? By using this tag. Okay, this link tag, and then remember the file name should be the same as the file name that you want to style it with. Okay, so if you try to view it, okay, sometimes it does not give you the preview in the Visual Studio Code. So what you need to do is that you have to show this in browser, so it will look something like this. Okay, so if you want to see the inspect, okay, you can view this inspect. Okay, so you will open up the tool. Okay, now you have it, chapter 1. Okay, so you have the HTML. So HTML is everything. Okay, that's why it's being highlighted. Okay, head. Okay, this is the head tag, followed by the body. Okay, and then the closing tag for the HTML. So in the head tag, you have some comment for the title. Okay, and also the link for the mystyle.css. Okay. And this is the body. Inside the body you have heading 1. Okay, so now it is being highlighted. When I mouse over it, it highlights the segment for heading 1, and then this is the segment for the first paragraph, the second paragraph, heading 2, and then heading 4. Okay, and then if you see here, if I click on it, okay, let's say I click on body, you can see here the body is currently in lime color. Okay. Alright, and then you can see here, this is when we go into the box model later on. Okay, but I'm not going to touch on this yet. Okay, alright. So heading 1, okay, heading 1, you can see here it will follow the styling from mystyle.css line number 4. Okay, line number 4. Okay, because I have imported mystyle.css in this HTML page. Okay. So H1 will follow the styling from mystyle.css. So let's click on this. Then you can see the file mystyle.css line number 4, which is this one. Okay. So heading 1, I think this is the one. Yeah. Heading 1 will follow this. Okay. Text align equal to center, the font, and also the color. All right. Okay. So if you click on elements back, and then you can see the HTML script again. Okay. And if you go to paragraph, this is a heading formatted using external CSS. Again, this is from mystyle.css line number 8. Okay, so line number 8, this is for the first paragraph. Okay, using external CSS from mystyle.css. Okay, click on the element tab again, and then you see the heading 2 and then heading 1, heading 4. So this is actually from the HTML page itself. Okay, because this is using the HTML file, okay, not from other external CSS. Okay, all right. Okay, so you've seen that one for external or link CSS. Now we're going to see more example. If let's say you have multiple style sheet. Okay, so let's make this bigger. Okay, so let's say you have multiple style sheet, like maybe then you must wonder which one will be applied. Okay, so let's say you have the first external you have the external CSS with the following style for the H1. Okay, heading 1, the color should be navy. But then let's say you put another CSS using internal style, okay, which is in the head tag, okay, and then you style the heading 1 as color orange, okay. So you might wonder which one will then be applied, okay. So the rule is simple, is that the selector or the element that has different style sheet, okay, will follow the value from the last red style sheet, okay, in the file itself, okay. So let's see some example. Okay, so let's say this is from the first one. Okay, so if the internal style is defined after, so remember the internal style, the internal CSS is in the style tag. Okay, so this is internal style. Okay, this is defined after the link to the external CSS. This is the link. Okay, the external link. Okay, so therefore your heading 1 element will be orange in color because it will follow the last red style sheet. Okay, so the last red one is the internal one, so therefore it will be orange in color. Okay, so let's see this in W3 School. So I think I've opened it here somewhere. Yeah, this one. Okay, so you have the link, the external CSS followed by the internal CSS. So both of these has the style for heading 1. Okay, so heading 1 here should be orange in color because it will follow the last red style sheet, the last red CSS. So the last red CSS is the one from the internal. Okay, so let's do the other way around. Okay, what happens if we do this one first, internal first, and then we follow by the external? So it will look something like this. It will change, okay, because we put internal first and then followed by the external. Okay, so therefore the heading will change to navy because in my style.css, this is the heading 1 style, the color should be navy. Okay, so then the heading 1 will follow the last red style sheet, which is the external. Okay, so please be careful when you read your CSS. Okay, you must know which one come first and which one come last. Okay, all right. Okay, so you've seen this one, multiple style sheet. Okay, how about inline style sheet with internal and also external? Okay, so you might wonder which one will be then enforced on the heading 1. Okay, on the heading 1. Okay, so I think I have some example there for you. Alright, so if you copy and paste this this script, okay, into Visual Studio Code, okay, I have it here already in activity O3F, okay, and then you try to view this in a browser, okay. Remember, so you might wonder what happened to the heading 1, okay. So my style sheet, okay, my style.css is saying that heading 1 should be in red color. Okay, but in the internal it says should be orange. Okay, but in the inline it should be hot pink. So you might wonder what happened, what will be the correct answer. So the correct answer is this. Okay, so let's see the code. Okay, so you have here this one, this is a heading. Okay, this is a heading and it will follow my style CSS line number 4, okay, which is this one. Okay, it will become red in color like this. This is heading, this is a heading, followed by, but this heading is using inline style. Okay, remember the rule is always going to follow the last red CSS. Okay, so because the last CSS that is being read for this particular H1 for this text, but this heading is using on inline style. Okay, the last red is the inline style, so that's why it becomes hot pink. Okay, but for this one, this is heading, the last one is being read is, remember the last one is being read is from the external. Okay, even though we have the internal here, the internal CSS is saying that this is a heading tag should be orange, but the last one, the last CSS being red is the one from the mystyle.css, and in mystyle.css it should be color red. Okay, so that is why you can see that this tag, this is a heading tag, is in red color. Okay, all right. So now you know the answer to this one. Okay, all right. So you must be careful when the test one is coming. You should know which one should be applied to the HTML elements. Okay. All right. So I think we've covered all. Okay, and then we are going to see the next one, which is the advantages versus disadvantages. Okay, so I have supplied all material for the class activity in the CSS material. You can download this from the e-learning. Okay, all right. So all the answer for the tutorial is actually in the slide. Okay, so you can copy and paste from the slide directly. And lastly, we're going to see the CSS advantages and disadvantages. Okay, so you now know why many people are going to CSS3 now, because you can change the look of your HTML page very easily. Okay, you can define the similar attribute with the same accuracy. Okay, and then you can redefine the entire HTML tag, and then you can also load your page faster, and then you can keep it simple in a one single CSS document. So therefore your job is not going to be redundant, because you only need to edit one single CSS document instead of going into all the HTML file page that you have for your entire website to just change one style value. Okay, all right. But for CSS3 you must always only use the version 4 for the browser. Okay, but I think nowadays most browsers are more into newer than version 4. Okay, all right. So I think that's all for CSS introduction. All right. So thank you, class.